grow up with the NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Well, hello. Welcome back to another show. That's right, we're doing a shorter review show just with reviews for this week because I, Alex, the producer, am away. I've got a bunch of medical appointments. I got blood work and stuff to do during the time we would normally be recording the show, the main show with Birdman. And on the weekend, Birdman and I got together for the first time since, it was before Christmas. Usually we hang out once a month or once every other month at the most in person. But it's gotten this winter with the weather, and then people were being sick left and right, and then medical appointments. I was supposed to do a sleep study that got canceled over Easter weekend, but that was also when we were going to originally hang out. It was a mess. So my birthday was on February 2nd, and we just celebrated my actual birthday lunch together over 2 months later. But we finally did it. We're hopefully not going to go like several months without seeing each other again. But we were able to hang out. That was fun. So the solution is we have reviews that were ready to go. We already had 3 ready to go for here, and we're going to have a couple extra ones in here to bring it up to 5 because they're all timely and things that are cool and important, and we wanted to make sure we got out, not had a week off. Speaking of, next week I might be off. I've got other appointments and stuff to go to, so we'll see about that. But I think we're going to try to plan around it. But because of that, news-wise, last week was all CinemaCon. So I'm just going to briefly sort of skim over some of the things that I saw from different roundups on different websites. So instead of a regular news section that we would normally have and the weird news, we're just going to do this here mostly in the intro and opening, just to sort of give highlights from what I saw, or at least what I was able to see. There are going to be movie trailers and different things that come out of it. Basically, the things that they showed off each day. Sony had Sony Classics and Sony Pictures showed off a new scene from Spider-Man Brand New Day. There was a clip from the Resident Evil film that I think popped up. We're going to start seeing a lot of these things sort of disseminate and leak out to the public because a lot of the stuff is like eyes only for cinema presenters there and buyers. But there was, I'm trying to think, what else was there here? Oh, the bigger announcement from them was that Jumanji is having another sequel, and it's going to be taking place like in the real world. It's not going to be in Jumanji. So that'll be interesting. We'll see when that actually pops up with marketing for everybody here. Tuesday, Neon and G-Kids showed off some stuff. Neon's big winter film is called A Place in Hell, starring Michelle Williams and Daisy Edgar Jones. There was a first look trailer for that might be worth checking out. Also on Tuesday, Warner Brothers did their show, and it was what is it here? They showed off the dark comedy Digger. They showed off, what else was there? My notes here. Oh, the Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum. They showed that they had cast Aragorn. They cast a bunch of other stuff. There's little bits and pieces. It's not like a Comic-Con where they're going to show off like big, fan servicey stuff for people. But there was a trailer for the Evil Dead Burn, So that'll be worth there's a bunch of speculation around that perhaps being a sequel / prequel side story to Ash versus Evil Dead. We'll see. We'll know for sure, as we get closer. But there were teases basically for that. A little more shown from Supergirl, that sort of stuff as well. And they basically talked a little bit more about Dune 3 at the end. So it's not anything like revelatory from that. Wednesday was Universal and Focus Features. And for them, one of the big highlights was The Odyssey, which is the Christopher Nolan IMAX movie, which interestingly, I believe is the first IMAX film filmed entirely using IMAX film and film stock and camera for the whole entire movie, not just specific scenes and not just cameras that are quote unquote certified, actual IMAX stuff. There was a first look at Minions and Monsters, which we saw the tease for, but there was a little more for that there. So keep an eye out for trailers for that coming soon. They also released the trailer for Focker-in-Law, which looks like, a sequel to the Meet the Fockers, Meet the Parents. It looks harmless. It doesn't look good, but it looks harmless. Focus Features showed the latest look at a werewolf flick set in the 13th century England, which that's on my radar now. And Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day showed a little more footage. We're still on the edge about what's exactly going on with that. Amazon MGM teased that they're working on James Bond stuff, obviously. There was an updated little trailer for the Spaceballs sequel movie where Mel Brooks talking to the camera. Hard to believe he's like 99 years old. Holy moly. There was like cast interviews and that, which is always nice to see. Beyond that, we go to Thursday, which was Paramount's Day, and Paramount, we're all sort of wondering what's going on because of the acquisitions and stuff going on with them. So it's interesting to see what they had to actually talk. They had some celebrities come up on stage, but it's a big whoop. Now, there was more trailers and footage from the Street Fighter movie, which looks ridiculous. So, sure. Also, they teased that they announced that there's a Call of Duty live-action film coming. I believe Taylor Sheridan is writing it. Taylor Sheridan being the big producer that has made like Yellowstone and all of its spinoffs, basically what's keeping Paramount Plus alive. They also confirmed that a Top Gun 3 is in the works. And Tom Cruise is expected to reprise his role in that. So, that's why he came out and talked. Now, beyond that, there's some concert-y type footage for movies and that coming out. They also announced that there's a 5th Jackass movie that have been teased. It's called The Best and Last. It has its first trailer revealed. I will be taking my dad to see that because that is our jam. And there were probably a few more, but nothing like big, if something pops up, we'll definitely talk about it on the regular news when we're back to doing that next week or the week after. Also on Thursday was Disney's Time to Talk, and Disney showed off mostly stuff from like the Devil Wears Prada 2, Mandalorian and Grogu showed a first look with film's opening sequences for people that were there, I guess to get them hyped. There was also some footage from like Disney's live action Moana, which honestly I don't have any interest in that. There was Ice Age Boiling Point was shown, and a little bit more information on the Avengers Doomsday. That was there was a trailer played in the room, which we obviously haven't seen in the public yet. Maybe sometime soon, we'll see. And that was pretty much it. It was nothing major. Probably the bigger surprises were like Jumanji, maybe a couple other little small things. But as far as in-depth stuff, we'll report on it when it hits the public. A lot of the stuff is behind closed doors, so that's why we didn't really do bigger reports on it. But that's pretty much it for just like a brief overview of some of the stuff that happened at CinemaCon. We'll be back with regular news next show that we do this. So we're going to jump into the reviews. We're going to alternate between me and Birdman on this, and then I'll come back at the end just to give a quick update on the regular programming on the site. So I guess take it away, Birdman.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. Once again, I'm here to talk to you about something really cool we got from our friends over at Hasbro. I'm talking about Transformers Age of the Primes Quick Strike. one of my favorite Fusor Predacons. When they introduced these guys in Season 2 of Beast Wars, I thought Quickstrike was like the coolest guy. He's a snake, he's a scorpion, he's a stupid cowboy. He is awesome. And I actually had this toy way back in the 90s too. And again, I thought he was pretty cool then. Really didn't expect Hasbro to come out with more Fusor type character. I mean, yeah, we just had Silverbolt and, you know, a while back, and Tiger Hawk, and I kind of figured, would we get Quickstrike yet? Maybe. But getting him in hand, this is cool. For like a deluxe scale figure, I am really impressed with this. And what I like about it most, the deco. Like, he's got this like metallic blue paint that just really it pops. This wonderful gold look to him. And he is probably one of the funnest transformations. And the thing that really makes me appreciate this figure so much, it's the snake head, which is articulated with like all these ball joints. You can do all these cool kind of poses. His legs form into his claws of the scorpion mode, so they're really firm, they're really bulky, they're kind of bitey, honestly. So when you're taking to form his claws into his feet, your fingers are going to get tore up just a little bit. Minor nitpick, I wish his individual scorpion legs were articulated. I mean, even if they just had like a ball joint, kind of like a tarantulas or a black arachnia or something like that, that would have been really cool, I think. But he's such a good looking figure. I mean, I hope we get like Transmetal 2 Rat Trap and Cheetor. I can't wait till we get like a new Depth Charge, or like, you know, just finish out the rest of the Beast Wars cast in like their Transmetal forms. And I'm there all day, every day. I am there. Just so in. I can't imagine what they do to Transmetal Megatron with like his thing, or even Optimus with his flying monkey skateboard. But still, no, Quickstrike, really good figure. And truth be told, I'm honestly surprised to see him still sitting on store shelves right now. He's such a good figure. I guess maybe some modern collectors may not necessarily have the nostalgia for Beast Wars. I do see a lot of the Armada stuff moving and a lot of Transformers Prime. But yeah, like, I am legitimately really impressed with like Quickstrike. Wonderful bot mode, amazing alt mode. He's almost one of those figures where I almost want two of, to keep one in bot mode and one in beast mode, just because he looks so good with the rest of the Predacons. I think it looks better than Scorponok, like hands down. So seriously, Transformers Age of the Primes Quickstrike Deluxe class is a absolute must-have. If you like Beast Wars, if you like weird Transformers, Fusors, well, you're not going to get weirder than that. So, Predacons, terrorize! This has been Quickstrike.
Alex, the producer here, and I have a review of a game that's actually been a few years in the making, actually more than a few. Our friends over at Thunderful and Sad Cat Studios sent a review copy of Replaced for us to check out on Steam on PC. Now, this is available on pretty much every platform you can think of when it comes to this. It's on PC via GOG PC via Epic, PC Steam, as mentioned, Xbox Series X and S, as well as through Game Pass, if you're a subscriber to that. Now, this was a game that was announced, I think, in 2021, and it was being worked on, slightly before that, and it was, for people that maybe don't recognize the name, if I mentioned to our other listeners, friends, and colleagues, like, you remember that 2.5D platformer cyberpunk game that had like hyper enhanced like visuals, where it's like pixel art for the characters, but the world is like 3D and multi-layered and neon, and it has like the really cool like the music is sort of a bit of ambiance mixed with like techno synth wavy stuff, and like, oh, I think I know what you mean. Well, yes, it's finally come out. It had been delayed multiple times. this was the first game developed by the studio for major PC and platforms. They had people that had previously worked on like mobile games in other companies. So I do know it had a troubled history when it came to hitting its deadlines and that, which just seems to happen a lot with indie studios, especially on their first games. It's hard, and plus unrest in Europe. There was a lot going on about the background production, which we're not going to get into, other than it had been reported on a lot that this was heavily affected by global events, right? So moving away from there, I've now had I received it only a day or two before it was released, so I wanted to give it some time to play it, get a feel for it, see how it performs and everything. On my PC, it installed just fine. There were some bugs there before day one, since been patched, which is good, but for the most part, my experience was actually pretty smooth, and I think if you're jumping into it now, after listening to this, you'll be perfectly fine. Without spoiling it, there's not going to be any like major story spoilers. I'll just give you the basic premise setup. You start out the game in sort of like an alternate history, and you're sort of a programmer working with AI at some building, and disaster strikes the building. You're already sort of working past your limits when it comes to you're so tired, but you're driven. The AI is recommending that you don't work so much because it's not good for your health. And explosion, sabotage, something weird happens at the building. When you black out, you reawaken, and you realize the AI has transferred its consciousness into your body. You're not really conscious, you're not able to do anything, and it's talking, it's like, this is weird, we have to get to a terminal to get me out. It's not good for us both to be occupying your body. Let me work with you to get out. We've got to get out. And mystery sort of starts to build. You end up leaving the building under interesting circumstances, and the goal is to try to survive, find out what's happened, why this happened, and as the AI, get out of your body so that you can both survive. The combat is customizable for difficulty. There's different difficulty levels, and you can find a sweet spot for yourself. I think it's balanced pretty well, but I went and played it more in the easier setting just to make sure I could get a feel for it. You could just sort of change the difficulty as you go. There's some platforming, puzzly sort of aspects when it's like figuring out how to platform around. That works out pretty well. Controls are pretty tight. It's not the most deep combat ever. It's very stylized. Very much fits the aesthetic and the feel for the game. This game is all about atmosphere and feel, and it makes you feel like it makes you feel like this is a game from a different era. Like it's like how you imagined cyberpunk games would have been like in the 1980s, thinking about the 1990s before we had the big 3D revolution. So it's really cool playing it like that. I really enjoyed it. As far as any other aesthetics, the audio is really good. It's all about atmosphere. Works well with my gamepad. I can tell you right now, you wouldn't want to try to play this with a keyboard and mouse. But playing with a gamepad is perfectly fine. I think even on like lower to mid-end PCs, you should probably be fine. Like there's going to be recommended settings, but you can't really change a lot of the graphical settings. It's just sort of, you can select your resolution, and there might be ways to tweak it with third-party apps, but as it stands, it's a game that will scale pretty well. Frame rate is going to be pretty good unless you're on like a really low-end video card, because it does have a lot of like particle effects and lighting stuff going on, but it's not an overly complex game when it comes to the actual like textures and details that way, because it's that hyper mix of pixel art and 2.5D perspective. So as long as if your PC has a dedicated video card of the last 5-6 years, you probably should be fine without any major issues. I think it's worth checking out. It's got an MSRP, depending on your region, about $20 US in euros. So if you're also somebody who's on Game Pass and you're, on the fence, you want to check it out. If you're sub to Game Pass, it's worth checking out for sure. If you're not on Game Pass and you don't want to be, it's still priced at a pretty reasonable price point for what it is. Was it worth the wait? I think so. So it's worth checking out. I'll put a link in the description. And I think, sit back, get yourself a slice of pizza and a pop and just sort of vibe with this game, because it's really an experience to play, and it's just something that is unlike pretty much any other indie game out there right now.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman, and once again, I'm here to give you another review for a game on the PlayStation 5. I was sent a review code from Bethesda, and I'm looking at the former Xbox exclusive of Starfield on the PlayStation 5. This game came out a couple years ago, was supposed to be a big deal for the Xbox, and kind of was. We reviewed it a couple of years back. I did have some fun with it, but I described it as kind of bland with not a lot going on. And that was before they added in Creation Club, before they added in mods and everything. It was the vanilla Starfield experience. So when this game came to the PlayStation 5 recently, it launched with some of the expansions built right in, which actually did one of the DLCs, Shattered Space, completely by accident. I was like, oh, I am now doing this really cool thing, and I probably can't go home for a while. So I saw it through to the end. It was actually kind of fun. So when Starfield launched on PlayStation 5, it had Creation Club built in. You got all the DLC. It's going to be well supported. And it should be a fairly fun experience. And I can't deny, I actually did have a pretty good time with this. I put easily like 30 hours into this, and I used a crap ton of mods. In fact, it's kind of nice when you wander around Jameson and suddenly everybody's dressed as a Galactic Republic clone trooper. That's really fun. I've got a Wookiee following me around. I have a spaceship that looks kind of like something out of Mass Effect. I have weapons from all sorts of different universes. I've got clone commando armor from Star Wars Republic Commando. Honestly, I'm having kind of a blast here. And I purposely went into this version trying to see if I could break the game. And what I mean by that is, I'm just not going to do the main quest. I'm going to do stuff where I know the outcome. Can I out Bethesda a Bethesda game? And yeah, kind of actually. I did have a lot of fun with this playthrough. However, this is easily one of the most unstable games I have ever played. And that's really unfortunate. Now, as of today's recording, there has been a patch issued, and I've not had a chance to play in like the last 24 hours or so. So maybe the crashing issue has gotten fixed. I know certain mods would crash it. That is to be expected. That is just the way it is with mods. But even with the vanilla experience, before I started to figure out the Creation Club stuff, I would get not necessarily hard lockups, but I would go to a planet, or I would do something. I'd go to a door, I'd go to exit through, and the game would just crash, and I'd send in my report to whoever. I wonder who gets those, actually. I'm kind of curious. But still, it crashed. It stopped. And I would have to literally save scum. I was literally saving as often as I could so I didn't lose progress. But yeah, I mean, it's still the same game you played on Xbox, just maybe a little bit prettier if you're playing on like a PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm playing on a base model PlayStation 5. And yeah, like I said, I'm still having fun. Although, one thing I should note, and I hope this isn't a PlayStation problem unique to me, I actually got a heat warning on my PlayStation. It's like, your PlayStation is too hot. I've never seen that happen, and I have played like graphically intense games like Resident Evil and stuff like that, and it has been run pretty cool, all things aside. I've run graphically intensive games like Ghost of T.O.T and stuff like that. Starfield's the only time I've ever gotten a heat warning, so I don't know whether the two are, if there's like any kind of correlation, but I don't know. But yeah, if you like Starfield on the Xbox and you don't have a computer powerful enough to play it, playing it on the PlayStation is pretty cool. However, that being said, I might keep an eye out for some of the technical blogs and stuff like that till it says the game is a lot more stable. Like I said, I would imagine, since we're only a couple weeks out from release, more patches will be incoming to keep things a lot more stable. I'm hoping when I go back to joining Constellation, things will be a lot better. Like I said, I did have fun with this. but I know there were some people online that didn't have such smooth experience as me. So I'm going to say with this particular title, maybe wait a little bit, maybe see if there's a sale, and just see if the technical things get worked out a little bit better in the background. Because like I said, there is fun to be had here, especially with the community adding in all sorts of quests, environments, weapons, ships, followers, everything that makes the Fallout, the Skyrim community great. I'm glad to see Starfield do. Like, I'm hoping somebody does like a Mass Effect or like a Wayland Yutani mod at some point. Honestly, if I had any sort of technical skill, I really would. I would love to do it. Hell, I would love to voice a follower in like one of these mods. I would totally have fun with that. But yeah, Starfield on the PlayStation 5, it can be fun. It really can be, especially when you start adding in those mod experiences. From a gameplay standpoint, yeah, it's an interesting story when it gets going. The side quests are where I think some of the best content is. The main story, well, if you know, you're like, okay. So yeah, I'm going to say wait for a sale and maybe wait for some of the technical aspects to be worked out here. Because again, this can be a lot of fun, but with the addition of mods and everything, it can make it a lot more fun, and you can really customize the experience to what you want to do. So once again, that has been my review of Starfield from Bethesda. Once again, big thanks to them for providing a review code for the PlayStation 5.
You just gonna stay here when this is all done? What do you want?
I want to go to Earth.
What the hell is going on here? And why are these things trying to kill us?
While I was preparing to depart for Earth, the moonquake struck, damaging Edis.
Enacting attack protocol. Permission to commit acts of controlled violence? Granted.
You gotta be kidding me. I'm calling it. You'd make a lousy friend. We'll shut Edis down, and then we'll head to Earth.
Let's do our best. With you.
We're a team, right? A whole new life. If you're ready.
Okay, then let's go. Together.
Hello, friends. Alex, the producer here, and our friends over at Capcom sent a day one review copy of Pragmata over for us to check out on the Nintendo Switch 2. Birdman actually also has a review copy available. He was playing on the platform, but I'm sort of taking primary when it comes to the review because I finished earlier than he did. I basically took the weekend to work on it while he was already committed to other projects. So we're going to do a quickie sort of review here. It's not quick, but it's going to be fairly short. We're not doing any spoilers. It just giving you enough information on the startup of the game, as well as how the controls feel, that sort of stuff, and just the overall aesthetics. We're going to do a longer form prototype review episode on it once Birdman is completed, so we can compare, contrast, as well as get a little deeper into our thoughts on the game as a whole. So I will say this was the game that was announced, if you remember, back when the PlayStation 5, what did they call it? It wasn't the PlayStation Experience, it wasn't the State of Play, it was when they announced the PlayStation 5 in 2020 during the pandemic, it was I think they called it the State of Gaming, with Jim Ryan when he was there before before a lot of his stuff had changed the directions of Sony, where it went all live service, when they showed off like a ton of really cool games for the, some for the launch of the PlayStation 5 and then some that came in the next couple of years because of the pandemic delays. It was one of the games announced there, and it originally had a tentative release date of 2022. So it had already been in production for a few years before that. So figure, 2-3 years probably before that. Probably 2 years based on how much they had shown there. And then, eventually very famously got pushed back multiple times, 2 or 3 or 4 times. And then eventually being pulled back a few days. I think it was nearly a week. So that was actually pretty good. But yes, this was the question on top of, everybody's minds for a long time was, what is this game? The only thing people really knew is it's like, okay, space suit, android girl, and it's Capcom with most importantly, a brand new IP, something they haven't done or hadn't tried at the AAA level in many, many years. So we're like, okay, let's give it a go. When's it going to come? Anyway, I got the game, played it on Switch 2. As far as technical, feel of it, I can't. From the feel from playing it, I played it a little bit handheld, mostly docked. I couldn't feel if it was like lock 30 or lock 60. I can just say this: it felt very smooth playing it. So I'm going to assume it's a 60 FPS. For more intricate details, you can always check out something like a Digital Foundry where they go much more into measuring that sort of thing. But I can say this: playing it on the Switch 2, I had absolutely no issues, with input delay or lag or feeling of it moving. There were moments where it went a little frame ratey in like very complex scenes, but for the most part, it wasn't. Load times were pretty quick. Because I had a digital code for it, I downloaded it. I made sure I had installed it, not even to my SD Express card, which is pretty fast. It's one of the faster ones. I did install it to the internal storage of the Switch 2 because that is the version of the storage that can load at like 3 gigs a second. It's the fastest one, so it's the one that was going to be most comparable to somebody that has like an NVMe direct storage drive on their PC, or if you're playing it on PS5 or Xbox Series consoles. So loading times were pretty fast. As far as visually, the only critiques I would maybe have would be sometimes Diana, the Pragmata character, is a little bit janky with her hair. The hair effects, it's an engine issue. You have to have like really, really high-end PC hardware to make the hair look good in a lot of like games from Capcom. So it's something that, it's more suited for Hugh, the main character's like robotic, very angular looking spacesuit. It makes more sense to, draw that sort of thing. With her hair flowing, it can be a little rough, but I can say that you can change costumes, and there are some costumes where it changes her hairstyle, and that changes it, including cutscenes. In doing that, I've ended up with at some point, a costume that could change her to have shorter hair that didn't have like hair effects flowing, and that seemed to actually fix some even frame rate sort of glitches or drops where it was pretty clear like wind and that was affecting the frame rate because of her hair. That's the most technical I'll probably get with this, but that is something just to note, that you can mess around with it. Obviously, I think if you're playing this on PC, you could probably crank it to max, and if you have a good enough video card and system, then not even notice it at all. But as far as on Switch 2, that was probably the most noticeable thing. Everything else was very clear. Like, the best description I can give is, to me, it felt like I was playing it on my PS5 or Xbox Series X. That's just how it felt. And that is saying something for a third-party title within the first year of the Switch 2, and also a brand new IP from Capcom. That's pretty amazing. Like they're absolutely killing it this year with their their conversions and all their games. It's just pretty awesome. The basic premise is Hugh is a member of a team that is going to the moon on a research and development factory contracting business that said they needed help. There was like a distress signal that they sort of gone silent. People were trying to figure out what's going on. You get there and things go a little haywire. You can't find anybody around. You don't know what's going on. Disaster strikes and you're awakened with Diana, and your goal is to find the source of what's happening, find out what's going on, why things are happening the way they are, and eventually find a way off of the moon. And from there, the world's broken up into, you have a hub world where you go back to if you die, or you can always sort of fast travel back if you find exits in different areas. And that hub world is where you can like upgrade your weapons and items and character stuff. You can do extra training missions if you unlock them. If you find different collectibles that are like, they call them REMs, or like they're basically like little objects that are replications of people's memories of Earth that can then populate the center area where you can interact with them. There's beyond that, there are like little transcripts and secret notes you can find that fill up another section there where you can read the lore in the background. There's a lot of aspects here that feels like it's pulled from the best of like Western style games, and that's something that's very noticeable to me that stands out. Is this game very much feels like Capcom doing their best to make an EA style or Microsoft Studio style Western game. It sounds weird to say that, but there's aspects of this that made me feel like a little bit like Mass Effect Andromeda, just in the way it moves and feels, or the picking up of little lore pieces, or having like a home hub base that you work from. A little bit of that, or like Jedi Fallen Order, that little bit that feel to it. Then there's also the feel of like, it feels like a Gears of War, like a Microsoft-y sort of title. There's a little bit to that, like very specifically like Western studio inspired late PS3, early to mid PS4 era game. And it makes sense based on when this game would have started development, probably somewhere in 2018 or 2019. They would have started development, several months to a year or two before the announcement of the initial trailer for it, right? Because you figure out a 3 to 5 year life cycle is what they figured on development before it got delayed and before it had some development issues initially. So that would make sense. And when that would have been starting with production was right at the tail end of that era that I'm just talking about. So yeah, that makes sense. And it's a breath of fresh air in today's day where a lot of games feel very samey. And this is not feeling samey with the controls of your shooting, but then you're also using the shoulder buttons and face buttons to hack while shooting and jumping around and avoiding enemies. It can get a little hectic. If I have any other complaints for my playthrough, is that I had to take a few breaks while playing, get up and even like massage my hands a little bit because I was getting pretty bad hand cramping. So but I'm also, I'm somebody who can be a little prone to that. If you're somebody that has dexterity issues, you will have likely problems with this. This is not a game that, from an accessibility standpoint, if you're somebody who struggles with hand movements or has some sort of dexterity issue, you will not be able to complete this game. I'm going to say that flat out. It requires you to be able to use at the same time index, middle fingers, thumbs on both hands, in a lot of times in multiple combinations very quickly, and navigating menus at the same time. So it can take a little bit of getting used to. It's very fun. There can be some frustrating moments with the difficulty. I set myself initially on the normal mode to play for about an hour or two, and because of my hand issues, I was like, no, I want the enemies to be a little easier, and I started the game over again because you can't change the difficulty once you started, and I went and started it on the more casual difficulty, and that still provided a significant challenge, especially at later parts of the game. We won't get into here because we're going to do a longer, more spoiler-filled review discussion when Birdman finishes on the prototype sometime in the next month or so, next few weeks. So we'll be sure to talk about that then. As it stands here, I'm very impressed with this. The visual presentation is great. The audio is great. The writing it was fairly predictable in my sense. I won't again go into it here, but it was a little predictable, and then some parts of it weren't. The dialogue is very much a Japanese attempt at a Western style game. Like it very much feels like a game from 20 years ago in its dialogue as far as a Japanese developed AAA game, and that was refreshing. I had a smile on my face the whole time playing it. The lore, the world build up is very good. Most importantly, it's emotionally satisfying. It is very good, just presentation overall. Also doesn't take up too much space. Depending on if there's any updates or anything, you're looking at I think it was about 15 or 16 gigabytes to download. I'll have to double check that on my Switch too, but it's significantly less than I was expecting, and I believe even then it's not that big. I believe Birdman showed me, I think it was the PS5 is like 30 gigs or something, which in this day and age is not that huge, but again, pretty cool. We'll see. Again, it might change with patches and updates, and I will mention that if you're concerned about how long it takes to beat, it's going to be depending on you how much you decide to do. My playthrough, I ended up at about 15 hours, and I didn't complete everything. There's more for me to do, but my storyline playthrough is about on par with what I had hoped. I didn't want this to be a short game, but you also don't want it to be a very, very long game. So I think it found the sweet spot. If I could probably pour in another 5 to 10 hours to find or do all the secrets and extra things, and then there's more post-game stuff, which I won't go into. I'm not going to spoil it here, just to know that there is plenty of content here for you, and it's all plenty of unique content. So nothing feels like you're rehashing things or you're like, oh, okay, well, it's just a recolor, and it's none of that stuff. It's actually a lot of interesting stuff that they've done with the game. So, that being said, is it worth your time? Absolutely, at least in my opinion. We'll see what Birdman says, because we're probably going to have very different experiences. He's playing it on a different platform as well. So I'm going to put a link in the description for this for you. I think it's worth checking out. As of this recording, it was just announced that they had sold over 1 million copies in 2 days. That is unsurprising to me. I think this one's going to have legs, and we're going to have to check in to see if this is a franchise or a new IP, or at least a concept and style that they're going to revisit in the future, because I certainly hope so.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and I am here to talk to you about something we got sent for review from our friends over at Visual Concepts and 2K. I'm talking about the Showcase of the Immortals. That's right, this is WWE 2K26 reviewed on the PlayStation 5. A review code was provided to us. Well, if you're listening to this, it is either WrestleMania weekend or it's just happened, so I don't know who's won. But I generally like to wait till the weekend before or of WrestleMania weekend to review these games. Usually we get a few patches, we get some DLC, we get some My Locker codes, we get some fun stuff that is generally tossed to us, the community. So this year's edition of WWE 2K whatever, in this case 2K26, this is the people I really kind of got into when I first started getting back into wrestling in 2014. I actually remember watching the Pipe Bomb promo, if I recall my wrestling history correctly. And I think that might have been the first Raw I ever watched, actually. So that's fun, but that moment is not here. So you get to go through CM Punk's showcase mode, going through some of his biggest career highlights, but you can also do what the developer is calling slingshot technology, aka alternate reality mode, where, maybe you lost, maybe now you win. Okay, it's still fun. I mean, I like some of the showcase modes, just seeing some of the different wrestlers, over the years, we've had, John Cena, we've had, I want to say Daniel Bryan did one, if I recall correctly, Cody Rhodes, stuff like that, and, I've had a weird tangential connection to WWE. I mean, I went to Money in the Bank a while back. I got to talk to Cody Rhodes on the phone, so I am a wrestling fan, but I've been largely disconnected from the product. So when I came into this year's game, looking at the roster, I recognized a good chunk of names, but not all the names I thought I would. And that kind of sucks, but, if I want a wrestler, I can go to the community creations, which I've already downloaded. People such as Daniel Bryanson. I've also downloaded characters from AEW. I've downloaded Edge. Spider-Man, Batman, and because there's always some jerk who does this each and every year, Chris Benoit is available to download, but those typically don't last too long, so you can usually count on the 2K staff nuking those fairly quickly. I mostly spend a lot of my time in My Rise. That's typically my favorite mode in these games, where you sort of play an up-and-coming wrestler. This year, you're playing as the archetype, and I chose to go with the women's archetype. And surprise, surprise, my favorite new woman wrestler, or new to me anyway, she came from TNA a couple years ago, Jordynne Grace. Huge fan of her. I think she's pretty cool. And yeah, so it was awesome against Jordynne Grace and Paul Heyman, his client. And yeah, it's you going up through the indies and NXT. Eventually, you know how this kind of plays out. Still. There's your My Faction, My GM. There are some new match types this year. Like if you want to throw someone in the back of a casket, you can do that too. Ambulance matches. Stuff like Steel Cage, Hell in a Cell, all the typical WWE bells and whistles. It's all here. Mechanically, I have realized something, and this is horrible to say. I think I'm finally having my age catch up to me. I cannot play these games effectively. I can't get the rhythm down. And that's not the fault necessarily of the developer. It's just that this game system has moved beyond me. Playing Mortal Kombat, there's a rhythm. Playing Street Fighter, there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm to Tekken, Marvel vs. Capcom. I get those. Here, even if you want to go for a more arcadey system, which was like 2K Battleground, which I thought was actually kind of fun, I'm not as effective as I feel I should be. And I really feel these type of games, if you are willing to learn the grind, to know if you stand behind this person and do press up and a grab, or if you do this right button combination, you'll do like a axe handle pump. I can't even name half of these moves. You'll do it. And when it works, it is really awesome. You really feel like you're landing the impact. They've also kind of reworked how stamina works. Stuns are now a thing, and that's a really good way to get a pin on somebody. Accessibility wise, again, one thing I noticed, and maybe I just missed it in like the options here, I couldn't make the font bigger on certain things, and I have to sit back a fair degree when I play these games, and I was missing some of the tutorial stuff, so I was kind of losing because I couldn't read what I was supposed to do. I mean, obviously when I lost the match, then I could, that's what I was supposed to do. So I kind of feel that that's a tiny oversight, at least in that terms of accessibility. Plus, it feels like some of the windows for doing some of the reversals and some of the more like counterplay things are maybe a little too short. Maybe there's an option to tweak that a little bit better. I thought I did when I was making my preferred difficulty, which I will admit I play these games on really, really easy. Mostly because I just want to feel powerful. I want to feel like a WWE superstar, and I want to do all sorts of cool things. And here, I gave this game about 10 to 12 hours all in, and it took me about 4 to 5 to start to get my rhythm down, to have fun. And I don't know whether that's just a product of maybe I'm getting older, maybe I'm just not into this like I should be, but I can recognize there is a half-decent game here. What I don't like, however, is now there is a battle pass built into this, and truth be told, you can grind it out, which is great if you want to play a crap ton of matches. If this is your game for 2026, then man, have I got a time for you. However, sometimes it's just easier just to, put down the MasterCard and say, you know what, I don't want to deal with it, here's whatever. And there are other YouTubers that have cracked the math on this, and I could pay off my credit card with some of how expensive this could get. But if it's going to be well supported, maybe this is the game for you. I'm going to say this game gets a rating of probably hardcore fans only. I feel like there's some refinements in here compared to last year. It is fun. I can't deny that. There's a lot of cool stuff to unlock. There are multiple editions of characters. Like, I got the King of Kings edition, but there's like an Attitude Era edition you can get. There's like other things where you can unlock all the things. if you pre-order this, you got his name is Joe Hendry and all that. I still don't know who that guy is, but I guess he's popular. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess if I had to give WWE 2K26 a recommendation, I might say wait for a sale, because these games tend to go on sale pretty quickly. And, you know, then maybe you can build your own superstar roster if you want to be the general manager of SmackDown or Raw or, you know, NXT or whatever. You've got options. Or if you want to go online to the leaderboards through the island and do all sorts of really cool, awesome things, you can do that too. And if you want to mess around with the My Facts and stuff, well, boy howdy, you are going to be set here. So yeah, I'm going to give this game a recommendation of fans only. I might say be careful with the monetization if you're going to put any significant time into this. You can grind it out. I hear some of the exploits have been nerfed, but that's just kind of the way it is. So that's going to be this 3 count for this review, and I will be back with more reviews right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Once again, big thanks to 2K for sending over a review code.
Those magnificent bastards. Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
Alrighty, that's going to do it for the show this week. What do we have coming up? Well, we've actually got a bunch of new programs ready to go. Obviously, we have Earth vs. Soup coming up on Thursday, as always. Now, for that, it's Earth vs. Soup, episode 304, King of the Zombies from 1941. That also happens to be my brother's birthday. We're actually doing stuff together the day before, and then as a big family birthday party sort of thing on Saturday after that. We also have, coming out on Friday, Twig Random Access Memories, the second part of the personal 8 movie tracks that define us. The first one came out last week, so we wanted to make sure that within a week we had the second part, which is going over the hosts, explaining their musical history and what, you know, sort of defining them as people, which is an interesting listen, definitely. Beyond that, we have plenty of other programs in the works. We're going to be recording more Future Imperfects, more prototypes. As mentioned, we're going to have a prototype at some point over the next couple of weeks when Birdman completes Pragmata. We're going to be doing a little bit more of a deep dive into it and the philosophy behind it and thoughts on specific plot points once, you know, more time has passed that people can listen. And that way, you know, we wanted to make sure that we had a spoiler-free review for people that are on the fence about buying it, and then have a long-form discussion one that, you know, people that haven't played it can skip if they don't want to hear spoilers, obviously, and just come back and listen to it on the show here. So that's pretty much it as far as what's coming up. I can give a preview of Earth vs. Soups for next week as well. They're diving into the Batman movie, you know, a little bit different. You'd think, like, is it sci-fi? Yeah, it's technically sci-fi comic book from 1966. So that's going to be a fun listen next week as well. As far as programming wise for the main show, as I said, I'm going to be away with visiting family on the weekend. I think I should be here for Monday for the regular show. If not, we'll see what happens, but I'll pre-record a couple of segments or something for Birdman to work with. He's also at the beginning of May, I believe, going away for a few days to a conference, a work thing. So we're figuring out schedules that way, but we're going to have plenty of cool stuff coming up. But that's going to do it for the show this week. Hopefully there's something here that piqued your interest, or you thought, I don't know if I want that. Hopefully something has helped you decide whether or not you want these games, toys, and whatnot. But that's going to do it for us here at This Week in Geek. We'll see you next time. Be excellent to each other, and we'll catch up again next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.